Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, Delphine Persoon posted this image via her Instagram account, and it appears that she's going to be back in action this November in her own backyard of Belgium against Helen Iron Lady Joseph. It appears that the former WBC lightweight champion is not going to sit on her hands waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for Katie Taylor to give her the green light for what is to be their long-anticipated rematch. Delphine Persoon is going to keep the tools sharp. She's going to get back in there. She's going to beat somebody up. Now, as far as Helen Joseph, you know, it's nothing against her, but I don't give her any kind of odds to win this fight. I don't. Main reason for that is, you know, Helen Joseph, she actually floats around in weight quite a bit. She's fought as low as 115 to as high as 126. But Helen Joseph's last fight, it was at 118. It was at bantamweight. Whereas this fight with Delphine is going to be at 130 at super featherweight. That's basically saying that Helen's going to come up from 118, past 122, past 126, up there to 130. Up there to 130 for what is one of the most monstrous punches in the entire sport of boxing, with an engine that can really go even into the later rounds, with the kind of punch resistance that can stand up to the likes of a Katie Taylor and her hand speed and all her combinations. Delphine Persoon is a monster to most lightweights and super featherweights, let alone a girl moving up from bantamweight all the way up there to 130. So I don't give Helen Joseph any kind of odds to win this fight. And in all honesty, this is a tune-up fight. This is a keep busy fight. This is a keep the tools sharp fight. Because Delphine Persoon knows that Taylor rematch is coming. And I very much believe that Delphine Persoon, ahead of a rematch, wants to take it out of the judge's hands. She's not going to be asleep at the wheel. Given what she experienced in her last fight, the Delphine herself was visibly distraught post-fight after the Taylor fight. Delphine feels that she did enough to win the fight. And you know what? That's not a baseless opinion. There's a lot of people out there that do feel that Delphine did enough, that yeah, she should have got the decision. She should be standing here today as the undisputed champion in the lightweight division. There are those people. I'm not telling you gotta agree with them. I'm just acknowledging that there are those people. So at this point in the juncture, Delphine is likely to come back and come back with a vengeance in preparation for what is to be her rematch with Katie Taylor next year. I expect to see Delphine out there, you know, at least one more time after this fight. I expect her to stop Helen Joseph in this fight and have one more fight leading to that Taylor fight. Because, you know, Katie Taylor, she's supposed to be squaring off against Amanda Serrano early next year. That's provided that Katie makes her way past Cristina Linardo 2. That if she wins the Linardo 2 fight, she'll go into the Serrano fight and then subsequently go into the Delphine Persoon rematch. I have no doubts that Delphine's going to be ready. She's going to keep herself busy. She's going to keep the tools sharp. And she's going to remind people that she can take it out of the judge's hands if she so chooses. And I very much think that's what's going to happen here. It's nothing against Helen Joseph. She's a decent boxer. But for this particular fight, I don't think she's up to scratch. I don't think she's up to the task. I have Helen Joseph getting stopped in November in Belgium by the monstrous puncher that is Delphine Persoon. So keep your eyes peeled for that in November. But before we move on, I think this needs to be said. I understand completely, wholeheartedly, the demand for a second fight between Taylor and Persoon. I do. I even understand that there are some people out there that feel Delphine did enough to win the fight. I can understand it. There's a precedence for it.
Yeah.
I can understand that. But what I don't understand is the criticism that Katie Taylor's getting.
Yeah.
Katie Taylor took on Delphine Persoon, a girl who most of these other fighters wouldn't even sneeze in her direction. This is a fighter that Katie Taylor took on after unifying 3 of the 4 major titles in her division. She did this in roughly 2.5 years. This girl ain't been around that long. Yet the bar of expectation, the bar of standard, is becoming increasingly high for Katie at a time when these so-called boxing fans are expecting next to nothing of everyone else.
Seriously.
They're not demanding all these other girls fight the likes of a Persoon for a second fight, a Serrano. Also, they wanted to give Cristina Linardo 2 a rematch clause, even though that would stifle the aforementioned situations. I mean, what's with this shit? You wanted to fight all these girls, you know, in one night?
Shit.
One night, same card. Katie Taylor versus all these different girls. Because that's what it sounds like to me. The kind of criticisms I'm hearing are fucking ridiculous, okay? Ridiculous. And it's becoming a situation to where the fighter can't do enough for the critics. They can't do nothing right for him. You know, they're going to shit on Katie no matter what she does. If she goes in there, beats Christina, they're going to be hounding her with Amanda. Then if she goes in there and beats Amanda, they're going to be hounding her with Delphine Persoon. And the whole time this would be going on, I'd be thinking, hey, do you have these standards for everybody, or is it just her? Why do you set the bar so high for her and so low for everyone else?
Yeah.
You know, you got Amanda Serrano. She's trying to garner sympathy on Twitter, claiming she's being shelved.
Oh, really?
A lot of fun stuff. And I find it hilarious because Amanda Serrano is a fighter who was talking about leaving the sport of women's boxing. And it wasn't that long ago either. I mean, it really wasn't. I wonder if here today, would she even still be in the sport of women's boxing had Eddie Hearn not made her that 3-fight deal? Because Amanda Serrano was talking about leaving the sport for a long time. And it seems that her name being attached to Katie Taylor's only because Katie Taylor wants that fight, only because she advocated for that fight. Her name being attached to that fight might be the only reason that Amanda Serrano is still in the sport of women's boxing, because Amanda Serrano let everybody know not that long ago that she was walking away.
Beginning of last year.
She was going to do the mixed martial arts thing. If it wasn't for Katie Taylor, I don't even think Amanda Serrano would still be boxing right now. No, because that's the only money fight for her. Yeah, you know, now all of a sudden people are using Amanda Serrano as a vehicle to hate on Katie Taylor, saying that Katie's ducking Amanda. I find that very strange, considering the only reason Amanda Serrano's still in the picture is because Katie Taylor wants her to be. You know, who made who the 3-fight deal? Smart guys. But I don't know, you know, some people are comfortable telling themselves whatever they need to tell themselves. The fact of the matter is, if Amanda Serrano got a 3-fight deal from Eddie Hearn, it's because Katie Taylor wants to fight her. That's the only reason. At the time that deal was made to Amanda Serrano, she wasn't even in the lightweight division. Katie had no reason to be looking at her, but she was. Amanda was at 140, and Katie Taylor was trying to become undisputed at 135. That's what was going on right before Eddie Hearn made her the deal. And as soon as he made her the deal, what does Amanda do? She drops all the way down there to super flyweight somewhere. Why the fuck would you do that if you got a 3-fight deal that's supposed to end at 135?
Huh?
I don't know. Don't let the facts get in the way of your biases, right?
Right.
I guess the point that I'm alluding to here is that while there may be a faction, a small faction, because at the end of the day, Katie Taylor's got fans. That's why she's the cash cow for anyone at or around 135. That's the money fight. Katie Taylor's got fans. She don't need me to tell you. You know, she's got fans. She's got paying customers. But at the end of the day, you know, there's a lot of undue criticism that this fight is receiving, and that criticism won't go unchallenged. Not on this channel, okay? It's not going to go unchallenged. We're going to cite the facts and the stats as to who's really full of shit. Because while it may have become the cool new hip thing to do to criticize Katie Taylor, I'm going to point out how anybody criticizing her for giving these girls opportunities is a blithering fucking idiot.
Here we go. Yeah, I like them.
Like this?
Like all them. I like, you see the chains? I like them. Stop ducking me. Stop ducking me. Come see me. I want you. I want you. I'm in arm's reach. I can touch him. I can put my hands on him, Leo.
Morales?
I can put my hands on him. So if you want some smoke, I'm not playing no games with nothing moving. Don't think y'all can pop up and run around and hide and disappear. Stop acting like a sucker and come see me before I go get your father. I already put my hands on him. I could have put him in the air for real if I wanted to. Stop playing with me, shawty. Grow some nuts, grow some kahunas, however you want to call it. Come see me, man.
That is the WBC's featherweight champion, Gary Russell Jr., in what appears to be a last desperate attempt to finally pin down that ever so elusive Leo Santa Cruz fight. A fight that Gary Russell has been advocating for some time now, though, you know, as it stands, we don't know of any wheels being in motion for that fight. Now, I've said this many times, that this is a fight that could have happened and should have happened a long time ago. It's one of the better fights the PBC has to offer in that weight class that would not even require them to work with anyone else. Yet, as it stands, we don't see any wheels in motion for that fight. And what we do see is that Leo Santa Cruz, he may decide to move up to 130 pounds and try his luck up there, as opposed to unifying the title that he's already got with that of Gary Russell Jr.'s. Ladies and gentlemen, this characterizes what I'm always telling you guys, that all that crossover to my side of the street crap, it's bogus. It's a bullshit argument, because here we have two guys that aren't on the same side of the street, and they're both world champions, yet as it stands, they haven't fought. And we don't know if they're gonna fight. The same is true in the case of Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. Two guys that are on the same side of the street. They're both world champions. And while Errol may want that Pacquiao fight, Manny and his team, they're looking in different directions. They're looking at Mikey Garcia and Danny Garcia. They're not looking at Errol Spence. So this really goes back to what I'm always telling you guys. That the whole idea that you've got to cross the street to get a fight is a lot of bullshit, because there are guys that are on the same side of the street that aren't about to fight each other. They haven't fought yet, and they may not fight at all. So we got Gary still advocating for that Leo Santa Cruz fight after all this time. You got Errol Spence targeting Manny Pacquiao as Manny looks in every other direction but his. And Errol never did get that Keith Thurman fight, did he?
Nope.
No, he didn't. Who knows when we're going to see Keith Thurman again? Point is, you know, all these guys, they're on the same side of the street. And even though those guys are on the same side of the street, it's not a guarantee that they fight each other as a result. So trying to use that as a reason to delay other fights, it's a piss poor excuse. But you know what? We didn't talk that to death.
We really have.
Let's talk about this Gary Russell thing. You know, Leo Santa Cruz, there are rumors that he may move up to 130 pounds, right? But you think about that for a second.
Think about it.
Who's the PBC got for him to fight at 130 pounds? What do they got for Leo Santa Cruz that makes for a titillating situation? What do they got?
What?
I mean, Tevin Farmer, he's on the Matchroom side of the street. He's the IBF champion. Jamel Herring, the WBO champion. He's with Top Rank. Miguel Burchell, WBC champion. Same thing. He's with Top Rank. Andrew Concillo, he's more or less a Golden Boy guy, or at least that's where we last saw him in action, in a Golden Boy promotion.
Yeah.
So what's that leave for Leo Santa Cruz? Leo Santa Cruz, who just so happens to be a PBC fighter, PBC that has a reputation, especially these days, for only wanting to make in-house fights.
What do they got for him?
What? The same shit you had for Gervonta Davis for the last 2 years? Bringing up a couple of guys from 126 to 130 so you can avoid having to work with other outfits to make good fights, but better still. Avoiding working with other outfits so much so that this guy's competition has been piss poor for the last 2 years? Is that what you got? Because for that, you know, you might as well stay at 126. Essentially what I'm getting at is Leo Santa Cruz going up to 130. While there may be good fighters in that weight class for him to fight, in all likelihood he doesn't fight them any more than Gervonta Davis fought them. So for going up there and doing that shit, you might as well stay at 126. Fight Gary Russell, because that's a better fight than what's likely to happen at 130. I mean, the basic idea of going to 130 was to pursue a Gervonta Davis fight, but Gervonta Davis has left that weight class. He moved up to 135. So unless you're going to follow him up there, I don't even see what the point is in moving up. You might as well stay at 126. You might as well have that Gary Russell fight. Why not? It's more interesting than isolating yourself at 130. Stay at 126, unify those titles, and be involved in a fight that's actually worth talking about, because, in all honesty, it's been a while since Leo Santa Cruz did anything worth talking about.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that this fight is going to happen. I don't know that it's not going to happen. I don't know that this is going to be enough to make Leo finally say fuck it and take on Gary Russell Jr. I don't know. I mean, I don't imagine that he likes the idea of Gary threatening his father with bodily harm on camera, in full view of the public, you know? I don't know how Leo's going to feel about that. I don't imagine he's going to like it. But is that enough to compel him to fight Gary? We'll see. And finally, you know, I mentioned Keith Thurman in passing, and, you know, when exactly can we expect to see this guy in action again? And at minimum, what we know is he's not going to be fighting again this year. And he's not going to be fighting in the first quarter of next year. So Keith Thurman very much continues to be the injury-prone and sparsely active fighter we have all come to know him as. Apparently, he underwent a surgery on September 4th that saw doctors fusing some metacarpals in his left hand. You know, he said there was pain in the Josecito Lopez fight and pain in the Pacquiao fight. And I guess this is his way of explaining his performances in both of those matches. Better still, it does denote a fundamental problem for what remains of Keith Thurman's career. I mean, how long can a guy continue to compete at the elite level in the welterweight division, a division that has no shortage of talent and hungry young sharks? How long can a guy continue to compete at that level in that division when he's so injury prone and so sparsely active? And now, you know, you're coming off a loss. You know, you're coming off your first pro loss to the likes of Manny Pacquiao. So once again, we're going to see Keith Thurman involved in a situation to where he has a stint of inactivity that he has to bounce back from. So it's very likely that the next time we see him, it's going to be in another Josecito Lopez kind of fight. It's going to be in another tune-up fight, shaking off the cobwebs fight. That's what it's going to be. Now understand that I'm not criticizing this guy for getting injured. I'm not. And I'm not criticizing him for needing time away to recuperate. If that's the situation, that's the situation, and you can't really fault him for it. Medical reasons are medical reasons. I'm not criticizing him, I'm just addressing the realities of it, because there are realities to be addressed. That Keith Thurman already stayed away from the ring for a long time due to injuries, and here we see it happening again. You know, ahead of that Manny Pacquiao fight, right, I talked about how I didn't think Keith Thurman had his competitive edge anymore. I didn't think he had that drive, that same drive that he used to have when he fought Sean Porter, when he fought Danny Garcia. That Keith Thurman may have come back, but he didn't come back the same guy. And that's just the psychological stuff, you know. That's just the headspace stuff. If you count the injury-prone stuff, it creates a situation to where you start to ask yourself, what's left for Keith Thurman? What's left for him to do? You take your first pro loss, that might put you in a funk. So what you need to do is start the rebuilding process so you can get those juices flowing again. Except you can't. You can't start the rebuilding process because you're nursing an injury. So it's stifling that process, and as a result of that, you may end up in an even bigger funk. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that because a guy loses one fight that his career is over. No, far from it. We done seen guys bounce back from 1, 2, 3, even 4 losses. Sometimes more than that. It's entirely possible for a guy to bounce back so long as he's got his head in the right place, that psychologically he has the fortitude to deal with the adversity and power through it. But Keith Thurman's particular set of circumstances create a situation that, yeah, it is difficult. You can't bounce back right away. You can't get back in that ring and remind people how good you are. Because once again, you're sporting an injury. And I think this is just one of those instances where the guy's never the same again. That's what I think. I mean, I know that there are lots of examples of fighters who bounced back, but it's because they had the intestinal and psychological fortitude to do so, whereas in this situation, I don't know. It just seems like a tall ask for Keith Thurman.